So it's really just short of what we call a million in AUV. I like that term, average unit volume, or what we call gross top line revenue. And we're actually showing a better than 40% EBITDA, or basically, revenue that falls to the bottom line as the margin in these things. Now, someone listening to this might go, that's just too good to be true. But I'll just explain very briefly why the margins are so good. It's because of
That is Lance Freeman. He is the president of franchise development and partner with the largest boutique fitness franchise group on planet Earth. They've got 48 states covered with licenses. They've got 6,000 licenses overall across the entire globe, across 20 countries. Now, what Lance is talking about is the revenue side of their new franchise called BFT that they're introducing to the United States right now as one of their 10 brands. And he's going to pull back the curtain some more. He's going to share the expense side with you. He's also going to share what drives their business and makes it work so well, the engine that they have. He's going to talk about that. And he's also going to share what a good candidate looks like from a financial position and from an interest level. Now, you're listening to the CloseTheDeal.com podcast. I'm your host, Yoel Smith, and you're listening to a special episode called Your First Franchise, brought to you by Franchise and Funding. Now, we're going to give you the insights so you can make better decisions, so you can invest into a franchise business, your first franchise. Now, let's begin the show. Lance, I want to welcome you to a special edition we're doing called Your First Franchise. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And you all had me you invited me along with some of my colleagues to come to your corporate offices in Irvine, California. The showpiece of an office, by the way. I love the staircase, the video staircase. I actually posted about that on my LinkedIn because I think that was one of the coolest things I've seen in an office. Folks, if you're wondering what that is, as you walk up the staircase, every stair step is a video and it tells a story as you're going up the stairs. But then you took us out to dinner. What was the name of the restaurant? You took us to Newport, not too far away from Irvine. What was the name of that restaurant?
Yeah, it's called Red O. It's a Rick Bayless restaurant. I would kind of classify it as high-end Mexican, but you can get everything from a great bone-in filet to a sea bass and then enchiladas in between if you want.
I tell you what, you all rolled out the red carpet for us. It's all about building relationships. And that's what this business is about, is building relationships, establishing relationships, long-term relationships for that matter. So this leads me to my next question, because it usually becomes the who, not the what. And the question is, who or what helped you or helped mold you to where you are today? Who are you grateful for, or what?
I'm grateful for a lot of folks along the way. I think that, helped, if you will. But if I had to, name one, I'd say mom and dad, to be very, frank. They actually helped me with my first franchise. And I kind of, was very young, had no money, but I had a lot of passion and wanted to be entrepreneurial, wanted to be in health and wellness. I thought my calling was to really make a positive impact on people's lives. And so kind of health and wellness and franchising was my vehicle to do that. So they pretty much put their retirement and they did on me, they bet on me and the bet paid off. So I'm eternally grateful for them as they got me my start, in my first store. I'd say as quickly as I could, paid them off. That was the goal. And then was able to scale that, first one from 1 to 2 to eventually 6, and then eventually bought a master franchise with about 50. I developed about 50 stores in over time. And so that was kind of how I got my start and cut my teeth in franchising. But again, always have to thank mom and dad for that.
What type of concept was it?
It was a semi-private personal training concept. Truth be told, it's ironic because, as you know, I'm a partner in Xponential Fitness at this point. But I'm a kinesiology and business major. So I kind of paired my passion for health and wellness and fitness, my personal passion with that. And also, my excitement to be entrepreneurial and build a business and again, be able to reach as many people as I could through that. And franchising has been a tremendous vehicle for me to do that.
Wow, your parents certainly put a lot of trust in you.
They did. They did. I don't know what they were thinking, but it paid off. But I'm always thankful for that.
Well, let's talk about your role with Xponential because you all, and maybe share a little bit about Xponential because you all saw a market, an opening in the market to clearly create the niche that you're going to talk about and the scale of what you all do. And then how you all solve a problem that was obviously missing in the marketplace. And you all do something that's really unique and at a very massive scale.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I guess my title is I'm president of franchise development for
Mhm.
Xponential Fitness. I'm one of the partners as well, and oversee development for. Currently, we have 10 brands and actually about 6,000 licenses awarded globally. That is, we're in 20 countries, believe it or not, at this point. About 80% of our business is in the U.S., but international is becoming a bigger and bigger part of our expansion, if you will. And we've got about 3,000 stores open today across the 10 brands in the US. So we are what we call kind of really the largest boutique fitness platform, really in the world today. We went public in July of 2021. So we're on the NASDAQ at this point. And we continue to really, perform at a high level. So we're really excited about the business today.
So you all defied some odds too. Like you all overcame of COVID, right? And you're ringing the bell, not to kind of as we're coming out of COVID, which
Yeah.
is amazing in the fitness world. And a lot of people, a lot of gyms around the United States struggled through that time like every other business. But you all, I'm going to share something that really caught my attention. And I really appreciate this and valued this so much. You all, as you all were giving us a background and a tour of your facility, one of the comments that was made is that you all had never laid off a single person during the time of COVID. And I'm going to share why that's so meaningful to me. Right after Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, my chairman owned one of the largest seafood distributors in the city. He did everything he could to keep every one of his employees, and he did. And he kept them on the payroll immediately following Katrina. So many businesses go out of business when crisis hits. It takes that type of grit to get through it. And I watched that firsthand. So I can only, and I watched him figure that out for a business that's just local to New Orleans. But you all are dealing with a business that services around the globe. That spoke volumes to me for what you all do. And that's a testament to what you all do as a company. And that's the culture of your company, which is, you don't hear that too often. So I'm bragging on you some, but was one of my big takeaways besides the fact that you all do all the other things. So talk about the opportunity, the market, the bigger picture. I'll let you run with it from here.
Thank you. Just to respond really quickly to what you said there, I really appreciate that. We did take a very different strategy than I would say, most franchisors or business owners, and not throwing shade on people that took, different paths, but we kind of had, you'll appreciate this, with your background, we had kind of a Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan moment, where most of the ships took safe harbor and to wait out the storm. And so they lost ground during that period where we said, you know what, we're going to stand up and fight through this and we're going to battle and we'll be stronger on the other side for it. So to your point, where a lot of companies were furloughing a lot of their support team, we said, look, we've got 3,000 stores here operating. They need 120% support right now rather than, less than that. So we didn't furlough a single employee and actually added more employees, believe it or not, during that period. And not just because it was the right thing to do, but we also felt that it would really benefit us from a business standpoint. And now currently it really has, because we have huge tailwinds that are back because of battling through that time and supporting our franchisees the way we did. So I really appreciate that. Just as you mentioned, kind of speak to a little bit where we're at with things, we did not permanently close any studios, which is a rarity. And again, we don't celebrate, any business owner having to close, but 30% of the market did retract while we actually opened more stores during that period and again, kind of forged on. So that allowed us to kind of keep gaining ground, if you will. So while some brands out there are still getting back to their pre-COVID numbers, our average studio is doing literally $100,000 more in average unit volume today than it was pre-COVID. That's our C student
Wow.
out there. So, and kind of people will ask me, why, what's happening? And so I think it's a little bit of a perfect storm of sorts in that, there was a lot of pent up demand after COVID where people really were craving getting back to that community experience and wanting to get back to that in-person experience. So those people were flocking back to our business. But then again, because there was a lot of retraction in the market, there were a lot of displaced members that were coming into our business as well. So we had people coming back to the in-person experience. We had people that, again, were looking for new opportunities and we fit that bill. And then you have a lot of people now that really realize they need to get healthy, and so there's kind of a huge focus in our country now on wellness and getting healthy and restore and mental wellness. And all those things really, translate to fitness. It's interesting because, again, I've been in fitness for 30 years, and I would say that fitness is probably one of the most bulletproof spaces there is. People would kind of say, oh, no, that's going to get hurt in a downturn economy or COVID or whatever. The reality is that fitness was one of only 4 spaces that continued to grow after the Great Recession of '08. So it's proven to be a very resilient space. It's a good segue into kind of where the business is today. What we saw initially, with developing this business model, and what we knew is the market was telling us that the average member today that's engaging in boutique fitness is attending more than one concept a month. 53% of them are attending 3 or more concepts a month. So we kind of said, look, we've got this phenomenal platform with Club Pilates, which was our first brand. Why can't we take that operating platform, that sales and marketing engine, and overlay it across other modalities in fitness, and then really capture that, all of those kind of that membership base, if you will, keep all these people in our ecosystem so they can kind of snack and cheat within our own brands rather than outside our system. And then all of our tides will rise. And in the process, set up what we call our internal XPass, which allows those members to really access any of our 10 brands through one membership product. And that's exactly what we've done. And it's really worked really well. And it's allowed us to really, I think, set ourselves apart from really just about anything else in the marketplace today. We've really covered what we call all of the core modalities. So whether it be yoga or Pilates or indoor cycling or running or dedicated stretching, we're really focused on core modalities that we know are going to be 20 plus year legacy brands. We're not getting into stuff that we think could be a fad that might not be here 5 years from now. So very sustainable, again, core modalities, and it really creates an opportunity for our franchise partners to continue to expand, diversify, and increase their revenue streams.
In your marquee brand, maybe I'm speaking wrong, is Club Pilates. Is that correct?
You call it the flagship because it was our first, but I kind of look at these things really not to be, too transactional, but it's really based on a born-on date. So meaning that's our most mature. So it's certainly our largest and most successful. But if you look at the born-on dates, for example, our newest acquisition, which is called Body Fit Training, we call it BFT, is I'll call it our youngest brand. But the born-on date with what we call our AUVs, a fancy way of saying average unit volume, is about 4 times what Club Pilates was when we bought that. So we do feel like some of these brands are going to really have an accelerated growth trajectory and not take as long to get to where Club Pilates is today, as an example, because we bought Club Pilates in 2015. So
yeah, and then you've got the track record, you got the data, you've worked out every single kink you could probably imagine in a very specific niche from the marketing standpoint, from the operations standpoint, from every aspect of the business.
Well, you couldn't have said it better. I always kind of say what the beauty of franchising and getting into one system is, you're a part of something larger and you're getting learnings from all these other partners that are in that system. But imagine this, not only are you getting the learnings from all the franchise partners in one system, but you're getting the learnings from 10 systems in an exponential type of deal. So that's why I call it the power of the parent here is really kind of makes us the Coca-Cola, if you will, of boutique fitness. And it's given us a lot of strength in the marketplace.
So let's dive in, since that's your newest brand. It's from Australia, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Let's go a little deeper on that particular brand.
Sure.
And give us an overview of how you see that brand rolling out in the United States, what you all are doing to help promote it, and the brand itself and what it looks like. Somebody walking in BFT.
Absolutely. I see this one with my almost 30 years in franchising and being a multi-unit franchisee myself, multiple systems, this one is really a unicorn. And I'll kind of explain why I say that. Usually you kind of get one or the other. What I mean by that is you get into an emerging system and and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to kind of know going in that the franchisor is going to kind of learn as they go a little bit, and there's going to be some growing pains, but there's still the benefit of getting in early because it's like buying a stock at the ground level. You're going to realize all that growth as the system grows, right? On the other side of it, if you get into a really mature system where you've got a really experienced franchisor, a huge franchisor, then usually you're getting scraps for territory, So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either, but you're not getting those A+ territories that you get when you're getting in early. So this was unique in that this is not a new brand. This is a very established brand. When we bought it, it had 150 stores in operation. I think there's 3,000 franchisors in business today, and less than 7% of them ever get 100 doors open. So it's a very substantial franchisor already. Today, we've got almost 300 stores open, but most are in the Asian Pacific and Australia. So we did kind of the opposite of what typically happens, where we bought an international brand and brought it to the US to roll it out nationally. So that's one of the exciting components of that. So you kind of say, hey, you've got this mature brand. So it's already proven. We're bringing it to the US for the national rollout. We're hitching its wagon to Xponential, the most experienced and largest franchisor with the most resources to support. So it's really unique from that standpoint. And then you couple that with, from what I feel is one of the most core and foundational forms of exercise known to man. So you talk about sustainability. This is really group resistance training. That's really no other way to say it. So, which is crazy to say this again with my background, but it's literally white space. And why I say that, there really isn't a nationally franchised model that is doing what we call a periodized group resistance training program on this scale in the country. So where it fits in the market is pretty easy to explain. So a lot of people have heard of Orange Theory, great brand. We tip our hat to them. They're what we call a classic HIIT workout. So we call it HIIT because it's high intensity interval training, kind of randomized exercises, is geared to get your heart rate up, keep it there for weight loss. Okay. On the other end of that scale, you have, let's use a CrossFit as the example. That's definitely resistance training, but it's very, very high level, high risk. And it's not a very broad market there and it's highly competitive. So it's not going to really be accessible to everyone. And it's not really sustainable, that you can do that for, years, if you will. So this kind of splits the gap between a CrossFit and an Orange Theory, a brand that's really accessible to everyone, from your novice to your professional athlete, and moms and corporate professionals in the middle. But with really the intellectual property here, with a true periodized program that allows for modifications, allows really any member to partake in this program. And the interesting thing is our average member comes in 4.8 times a week in this brand. So it's a very sticky brand, very sustainable, and there's literally nothing else like it in the market. So that's kind of where it's fitting in, and it's really growing it's our fastest growing brand today.
And you all took us to one of your locations, which was very insightful for me. And I appreciate the mix of the weights, the strength training, and the technology that you all have, where it's the heart rate monitors. Talk about that for just a second, what that does, because that's really neat, because you can really drill down on your workouts to understand exactly what you're doing.
Well, it's such a great point. I mentioned, some other concepts are kind of randomized exercises and whatnot. So we're using technology to really have a science-based approach to getting results in the workout. The number one reason why people want to work out in the boutique setting is a sense of community, which this brand really plays on. But results are really important as well. And so our members they're able to really monitor the results through all of that tech. I won't go down that, get in the weeds too far with that. But as you mentioned, and that's proprietary. So no other brand out there has this level of tech to really deliver on these types of results for our members. And again, with the science-based approach tied into that tech that we have, there's a reason for every exercise and every program and every workout that we do every week. So that way we can work different muscle groups, different energy systems on different days, so our members don't overtrain, but they can really reach better results with our program. than they would in kind of some randomized setting. And really our program is geared to really add muscle density, which in turn increases metabolic rate and also helps them to reduce body fat, which is a huge thing in our country right now. If you're seeing a lot, you'll see a lot in kind of the marketing that people are trying to play on the weight training. There's so many benefits for really any age for people getting into that segment. So I think it's a really standout brand.
I love it. And I love what you all do with that. I mean, I appreciate that work. I'm in the gym 5 days a week, and I really appreciate what you all do with that.
Thank you.
Revenue. What does the revenue look like? And what's the investment level look like? And what does the revenue look like?
Great question. So in franchising, one of the beautiful things about franchising is franchisors that choose to can disclose the average revenues of their system in that franchise disclosure document. So I can speak to that. It's in what we call the item 19 performance. And so it's really just short of what we call $1 million in AUV. I like that term, average unit volume, or what we call gross top line revenue. And we're actually showing a better than 40% EBITDA, or basically, revenue that falls to the bottom line as the margin in these things. Now, someone listening to this might go, that's just too good to be true. But I'll just explain very briefly why the margins are so good. It's because of the labor model. We have one instructor that is teaching more than a dozen members at a time. So most service businesses in retail are one-to-one. So every time you perform a haircut, you pay the stylist. Every time you perform a massage, you pay the therapist, et cetera. So this is 1 to up to 36. So it really drives phenomenal margins because of that labor model. And that's why we're seeing great margins. Now, the AUVs, the top line is pretty exciting. Again, because our average ticket is at a point where it's affordable to the masses, but it's a little higher than, say, an Orange Theory might be, because our member comes in again 4 to 5 times per week in this brand. So I like to coach people, think of it as close to working with your own personal trainer as it comes, at a fraction of the cost.
Okay. And what's the investment level?
The investment, yeah, it ranges again, we disclose this in the franchise disclosures document. It shows the ranges from about $350,000 to about $550,000. Now, some people might say, well, why is there such a big range there? It really depends on the market. So your Manhattan, New York, San Francisco, as you might suspect, will be kind of at the high end of that budget. And then, studios in the middle of the country will be on the lower side of that budget. It also depends a little bit on what we secure in terms of the real estate, what that build out looks like. But we're confident after building out 3,000 stores, at Xponential, it will fall within that range. A lot of our clients will use some lending component to finance the business. Most lending components, loans will require about a 20% cash injection, and then the bank will fund the rest. So we usually look for a candidate to have about 100,000 in liquidity to be able to invest in one of our businesses.
Okay. And support. I mean, I saw the support firsthand. I saw the training classes that just keep rolling because you have so many businesses around the globe. So I'm very confident with the support level that you all provide. Maybe you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I could talk about that for hours. I know we don't have that much time, but I'll just say it this way. And I know I'm a little biased here, but I do really believe, after really working in dozens of systems and being in franchising for 30 years, our support is well above what I call the franchise standard is. And the reason why is we take a philosophy that the more successful our partners are, the more successful we are, because we share in that success. And so we put as much support into them as we possibly can to ensure that they're as successful as they can be with this business. So I'll give you one example really, really briefly with hiring. Most franchisors will give you some standard operating procedures on proper hiring practices, but then it's your deal to really go out and recruit and hire and train, because they don't want that liability. So if, let's say an employee didn't work out, they don't want that to come back on them. We take the opposite approach and look through it from a very different lens, that we've hired over 90,000 instructors to date.
Wow.
And so for us not to help our partner with proper recruiting practices and telling them who we think would be their best hires is the bigger liability for us, in not setting them up for success. So we take a big part in that, and really, we literally recruit every employee in the business for our franchisee, from front to back, from GM to sales associate to instructor. We actually go through resumes with them. We actually help them conduct interviews and even make recommendations on proper hiring. And we do that with every aspect of the business, from real estate site selection to marketing the business to hiring your employees to supporting the sales process, everything. Again, and that's why we, are successful with this, because of the support we provide our partners.
I saw that firsthand. And then the marketing side, I always drill into that, because
Yeah.
without the marketing, there is no business. And you all are exceptional. And you all consider yourselves a marketing machine to drive business for for your franchisees.
We do. It's interesting that you say that. I kind of say that we are literally a sales and marketing engine at Xponential, kind of masked as X. So whatever, whether it be BFT or Club Pilates or whatever the modality is, that playbook that we have, that blueprint for success, that sales and marketing engine is, again, we leverage that across the brands so that we can help our franchise partners be successful.
Ideal client?
Oh, great question. I would say 90% of our franchisees, and I've got thousands of them now, are, executives from corporate America that had decided that they either went through a reorg or decided, look, I'm going to take control. I've gone through, three, downsizings or whatever it is. I'm going to take control here of my path forward. I'm going to invest in a franchise that I can scale in, that I can really, we call this semi-absentee. So our partners should not be buying themselves another job with this. In fact, I've got a lot of our franchise partners that actually maintain a full level C-level executive position while doing this in parallel, because it should not be a full-time thing. But people that look to really say, I'm going to scale in something, I'm going to really build a semi-passive income stream here, and I'm going to build equity in something that is someday, if I decide to sell it for a multiple on EBITDA, I can do that and get a really nice return. In fact, we publish in our investor deck that our average Xponential studio investment is about $350,000. It's about a 2.5-year ROI and a 40% cash on cash return. We've published that. So phenomenal returns that we're seeing in these businesses.
That's solid. And what's your top advice to a candidate or someone looking at a franchise to help them realize their potential and the possibilities with your brand?
Well, and the advice of my dad, always look to do something that you have a little bit of passion with, and then, the fruit will come from that. And so I'm a believer in that, whether it's, our brands or another space that, a candidate might be interested in. But aside from that, I really, I highly recommend following the playbook of the franchisor. Again, whether it's our system or someone else's, you'll hear that over and over again from anybody that's been in franchising for a while. Your top performing franchisees in any system, they are not the ones doing something different. I promise you that. They are just following the plan closer than everybody else is. The ones that are doing things different are the ones that are unfortunately underperforming or not doing very well. So I know it sounds very simple and cliche, but that is that is the way it is.
That makes sense. Your vision for the business.
Wow. We're going to keep growing. We strategically want to continue growing our AUVs for our existing partners, continue opening more stores, continue driving more of these great B2B business relationships we have, like with Lululemon, Apple Watch, Princess Cruise Lines, and many more. We'll also be acquiring brands 11, 12, and, on as we continue to grow the company. Vision forward is going to be really, again, continue to be the biggest and the best health and wellness company in the world. And so I say health and wellness because we are getting a little tapped out on what I call, core fitness modalities that we really believe in. So you'll see more concepts like our stretch lab model that are very complementary to our other brands that are in that health and wellness sector, but not technically fitness, as we continue to really grow this business.
Well, Lance, this has been fantastic. We're going to button that up right there. Folks, if you're interested in BFT or one of the 10 brands that they work with, get in touch with me. Visit yourfirstfranchise.com, yourfirstfranchise.com. Hit the contact us button, and I'll be in touch. Lance, this has been fantastic. I cannot wait to see you all blow this up with BFT across the United States. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the time. It was great hanging out with you at the Red O and for a couple of days. Thank you. And it's a lot for the time today.
Yeah, I appreciate that hospitality for sure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And that is a wrap with Lance. I love this concept, this franchise concept on a personal level, because I'm an advocate for your health and your wellness and your fitness. And if you're there mentally, this may be a terrific concept for you because you share that same passion. And if you've got that entrepreneurial itch that needs to be scratched, take a look at this. Check out yourfirstfranchise.com. Yourfirstfranchise.com. Hit the contact us button and we'll speak. We'll talk. On another level, I want to thank you. You listened this far, for getting this far in the podcast. We're building this community. It started with closethedeal.com. We've added these special episodes to service those who want to go into their own business, but also want a playbook to work with. And the playbook of the franchise business helps assure a greater success rate. And you do not have to go through all the steps figuring it out. They hand you the playbook. They got the systems and processes, and you get to work. To learn more, visit yourfirstfranchise.com. Now, you know the drill. Be intentional. Get in that gym. Keep moving. And make this a great day.